All right, everyone. Bienvenidos a LoCo Rico Podcast, where we talk about real estate, investments, crypto, and ownership. I'm here with my buddy, George Hyman. What's up, George?
Nothing, Brandon. Just excited to get into it today.
Dude, there's been a lot going on since the last time we talked. It's been 2 weeks. And my, the tech industry, FTX, tipping at restaurants, right? We're going to cover all that today. So let's get started. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it. FTX, man. No bueno. We had the declaration of bankruptcy, right? By FTX. We had the, of course, all of the conspiracy theories about the founder Bankman, right? And all the stuff that he's done. So what's your take on it all? Any opinions, any high level stuff before we get into the details?
Yeah, I think it's crazy that he's not in custody yet by any law enforcement agency. I think it's pretty crazy that you can just mess up that bad and then admit, like publicly admit to like losing billions of dollars. And the fact that you're not being investigated by any US law enforcement agency, or at least being taken into custody on I don't know what the legal terms would be, but it's just crazy that you can just go to the Bahamas, that you're able to leave the country. I understand that Bahamas don't extradite people, and that's why he's there.
Yes,
it's probably also more, from a financial standpoint, he's more protected there as well. But I think it's also crazy that he still has access to social media platforms. It's one could argue that this is like borderline terrorism against the American people. I mean, no one is dying over this, but I would not be surprised if there are several people who have contemplated suicide since losing certain amounts of money. Or let's say you're the manager of a pension fund who manages retirement accounts for veterans, or the Ohio Valley School District pension fund, and you put 5% of the money into one of these firms that was associated with FTX, and now that money's gone, and you have to answer to your superiors as to why $2 billion has gone out of the pension overnight, and you don't have access to it. So I would not be surprised if there are people who have contemplated suicide over this. I think that's something that is not being talked about. I just can't believe that he's still not in custody. That's the thing that I am most shocked by in this.
Okay, yeah, and so if we just want to sum it up for everybody, the main reason that they failed, right? They filed bankruptcy here in about 12 days ago on 11/11, after a lot of people got spooked by the market, right? So they had a surge of customer withdrawals earlier in the month, right? Earlier this November, and then guess what? Mr. Bankman, Sam Bankman-Fried, he just straight up admitted that the company did not have sufficient assets in reserve to meet customer demand. So, like, why does this keep happening, right? Coinbase had this problem a while back, right? And they even said, right, they have a clause in their bylaws, or whatever you want to call them, their terms of use, that says, oh yeah, if we need to liquidate and we need to sell off your coin, we're going to do so to make sure we don't go under, right? So I think that's a huge thing that is now catching a lot of these crypto companies, right? We're kind of pulling the tablecloth out from them, or whatever, is when all of a sudden all these customers come and say, oh yeah, I'd like my withdrawals. So why is it that these companies, and I think that's what we'll talk about next year, why do these companies keep having the ability to not have enough assets, right? They keep having the ability to basically extend themselves. Their balance sheet doesn't make any sense. They're not backed by the FDIC or anything. So, and we'll look at an article here in a minute, but what's your thoughts on that going forward, George? Are we going to have to do something about this to regain the trust of the people, or should the government stay out of this?
Yeah, it's really tough to say because you don't want things to happen like this. So this goes to show you what happens in an under-regulated market. Crypto has pretty much been like the Wild West. I mean, it still arguably is the Wild West, which
Yeah.
which is very appealing to some people, but it's also super unappealing to other people. There's people who won't touch crypto for this exact
Yep.
reason. But then you have people like me who are a lot more prone to high risk investment because we see the potential upside in crypto. So it makes I have my reasons why I'm in crypto, and it's because of the upside, which does come with a lot of risk. You're exposed to things like this. And do we need regulation to, or does something need to happen to earn the trust back from the people?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I don't think anything needs to change in crypto. What needs to happen is people need to get educated on where to buy crypto from, what cryptos to buy, and how they can go about doing that. Because I personally, I do not deal, the only crypto exchange that I deal with is Coinbase. I don't mess with FTX. I don't mess with
Yep.
crypto.com. I don't mess with Binance. And the only reason I do that is because Coinbase is, in my opinion, the safest exchange. And the reason it's the safest exchange is whether you like it or not, the US government is very deep in their pockets and is very aware of everything that they do,
Yep.
which has its downsides because you expose yourself to um, it's you're more likely to not to have to pay taxes if you do earn a lot of money on crypto. Tax evasion is one of the like very appealing things for crypto is you can make a shitload of money on some crazy foreign website that nobody uses. You mix it around with a bunch of other cryptos, you wash it, you basically clean it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have tax-free income that you can use, or at least tax-free wealth, maybe not income. NFTs are a great example of this. Uh, it's speculation, but supposedly a criminal organization wants to clean $30 million of laundered money.
Sure.
They create an NFT on a website and they host it on an auction, and nobody wants to buy it because there's no value to it. But one party of this criminal organization sells it to another account owned by the same criminal organization. They have now um, they've sold a good. It's a means of laundering money. So they've purchased
Yep.
an asset that on paper is now worth $30 million. They sold their $30 million in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever crypto to to buy this NFT. So that online transaction is now gone. They don't have access to those funds anymore. The other party has it, and the other party has now sold an NFT for
Yeah.
like basically so it's a wash, and it's a great way to like hide money or evade taxes per se if that's what you want to do. Um, this is kind of a tangent. I apologize, but what needs to change in crypto is not really anything. Crypto is very effective right now. It's just we need a lot more education on what somebody new can do to get into
Yeah.
crypto to avoid getting burned from
Yeah.
instances like this. And the way you
Mm-hmm.
do that is you talk to other people in crypto who have been in it for longer than you have, and you say, "Hey, how was your experience with X exchange? How was your experience with this crypto?" You don't just watch a Super Bowl commercial that Tom Brady says, "I'm getting into crypto. Use FTX."
Yep.
That it's unfortunate that this stuff happened, but a lot of people just took for granted, and they did not. In crypto, there's this term DYOR: do your own research.
Yep.
Don't trust somebody else. Do your own research. Figure out, is this exchange
Yep.
reasonable. How long have they been in business? And so for me personally, I just don't trust anybody, and I've always been like that. I don't trust anybody but Coinbase, and that's my means of avoiding getting scammed or losing
Mhm.
out in crypto. So I don't know what else to add to that.
Yeah, and at the end of the show, we can talk about tips on that, right? DOYR. We can also talk about who to trust, right, and why. But and again, don't trust us, right? Do your own research. But we'll talk a little bit about that. So, yeah, and I agree, right? Think about this. One last thing on the whole thing with FTX, right? So there's something that people don't really know about, and I'm gonna point this out. I want to highlight this. So FTX. So this is a big deal. I want everyone to just really let this sink in, with Elon, right? Let this sink in. So FTX loaned its customer deposits to Alameda Research, I'm going to drop the F bomb, an effing trading company also owned by Saint Sam. Okay, so we also need to look at conflict of interest stuff, right? I mean, I know what you said, George. You said do your own research, but also, does someone need to like put a hit out on this guy? I mean, come on, bro. Like this guy was doing facetious stuff, right? This guy was clearly intentionally trying to F everybody over. He knew what he was doing, right? And so, but also, is he a puppet, right? Is someone pulling the puppet strings, right? Maybe it's time to get the tinfoil hat out, I guess. But I mean, come on, man. This just seemed way too calculated, dude. I mean, FTX was supposed to be an exchange that has a level of uh a level of respect and prominence in the industry, like Coinbase, right? Like Binance, right? I mean, yeah, like those are the best of them, even though they're shitty. But I'm just saying, like FTX was supposed to be up there, and yet here it is, crashing like the rest of them. So, again, who can you trust? Like you said, but there also should be reprimands for this guy. I'm just saying. So, all right, we'll stop there. But Elon Musk, right? This is the guy. He knows everything, right? So we got his predictions here for FTX and Doge, and let's throw an Ethereum in there before we go into Elon's predictions. George, what do you got for us? What are ETH, Bitcoin, and Dogecoin predictions for 2023? Are we going to 80,000 with Bitcoin?
In 2023, we are not going to 80,000. I think it's until 2024 when we see a new all-time high in Bitcoin when we surpass the 69,000 mark. And that's just based on the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin that it periodically tracks. It's about 1,400 days from average from top to bottom. So can you pull up a Bitcoin chart for me?
Yep, already getting it.
But yeah, on average 1,400 days from top to bottom, and this is the third cycle where it's tracked. We've just basically completed the third cycle, and I mean we are within like 30 to 60 days of bottoming at the new cycle, the new technical bull cycle starting, if you want to call it that, based on a mathematical standpoint, if we're using that 1,400 days. So if you look at, so like the black number, 26 November 2012.
Yep.
So Bitcoin follows this halving cycle.
Yep.
Are you familiar with it?
Yeah. I mean, well, at least in the crypto terms. Yep. But yeah, go ahead and give us your insights.
Yeah. So basically, like on average, every 4 years, once a certain number of blocks are mined,
Yep.
the reward for miners gets cut in half. And this is what makes Bitcoin a deflationary asset is over time, every 4 years, and this is average numbers, 1,400 days, 4 years, give or take, it gets twice as hard it requires twice as much energy input to make one Bitcoin than it did previously. And so this is what makes Bitcoin an advantageous asset moving forward in a hyperinflationary environment like the fiat monetary system, because over time it makes Bitcoin harder to acquire rather than right now the US dollar or any other fiat currency has lost 90-something% of its purchase power in the last 100 years. So in 1925,
Yep.
The average wage was, I have no idea, but I'm guessing it was, let's say it was $1,000 a year, which is probably not that far off. Something
Sure.
along those lines. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
100 years later, now your average salary in the US is $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine how hard it would have been to acquire $1,000 in 1920?
Oh yeah.
If I asked you today, Brandon, how long would it take you to scrap together $1,000 if you really needed to? You could look around your bedroom right now or wherever you're at, and you
Yep.
probably could sell
Oh
half
yeah.
or a quarter of the. So
Yep.
the fiat currency is deflating so rapidly. So what's my price prediction for Bitcoin in 2023? I think we probably struggle to get. I don't even know if we get above like $30,000, maybe. I think we're gonna just stay in this range of $20,000 to $40,000, kind of just a lot of sideways motion. If you look at the graph, Bitcoin has these long periods. So see at the bottom left corner, you have this bottom,
Yep.
the green arrow at the
Yep.
bottom. There's a huge run up, and then Bitcoin
Drops a
comes
little.
back down,
Yep.
and then it just tracks sideways for a very long time, and then it shoots up again, and then it goes sideways, and then it shoots up, goes sideways, shoots up, goes sideways. I think we're going to go sideways for most of 2023.
Yes. Yep.
Just based off of this 4-year cycle, and we're not going to hit another crazy leg up until probably 2020. Yeah, probably 2024 would be my guess. And that's just based off of tracking this 4-year cycle that Bitcoin goes in.
Right. And so if we can look at this, right, 2019, they're saying is a bottom. Though, right?
Yeah.
4 years from that.
Bottom to top, 4 years would be 2023.
Yep. So that's why I was saying 2023, 80K.
I mean, that would be sweet.
So, but their bottom here, they don't have numbers here. I'm trying to look for a better graph. Oh, we should have pulled this up earlier, but and we want cost here, but I mean, I think we're really close to the bottom, right? I mean, I think that's pretty unanimous. Would you say? I mean, I don't think we're quite at the bottom, but I think we're really close. Thoughts on that, at least?
Yeah, I think we're pretty close to the bottom. Your chart here, if it could go into 2021, we're less we're not at 2 years. We're still like 1 year away from when Bitcoin topped at $69,000. It was basically this time last year in November.
Yeah.
12 months. So yeah, periodically, yeah, bottom to or top to bottom takes about 1 year. Periodically, if you look at the 2014 to 2015 top to bottom, it's about a 12-month. 2018 to 2019, 12 months. So yeah, in theoretically, we are very close to bottoming, probably 30 to 60 days. If not, it's already happened and we don't know it yet.
Right.
The other thing I would say is like Bitcoin typically will have, if you look at this 2015 bottom,
Yep.
you can see the tiny little red fractal candle like dipping way down. Do you see the one candle? It's very stereotypical for Bitcoin to have like a flash crash where almost nobody catches it, but you can see the price dips drastically way down below the mean. And that is your cream of the crop buying opportunity. If you bought that bottom right there where your cursor is, I mean, you are in the profit for the entirety of ever from there on. It never will dip below that price again. So if you can catch the bottom like that on this flash crash, that's ideal. We haven't seen that yet, where the price drops. You know, when people are saying it's bottomed out, we haven't seen another like 10% drop in a day. We've had several days where it's 10% down, 10% down, but you also have a huge correction afterwards, and we haven't had a huge drop with a correction right afterwards where there's so much buying power that the price shoots right back up.
Yeah.
And that's the one of the big like telltale signs of a bottom signal, and we haven't seen that lately. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, I think for anybody listening, the key takeaway here is watch the prices really closely. And if you see Bitcoin go down $1,000 in a day, that might be one of those flash drops. I mean, maybe. So I mean, again, do your own research. Let's check the price real quick today. I did not check the price. Okay, what are we sitting at? We were sitting at 16. We're up a little bit today. So, if we look at our 5-day, we have bottom was 15.
Like 15.7 or something like that.
Looks like 15.7 was the lowest we've been. So I mean, I predict we'll go down to about 12 plus or minus 1,000, and then after that we'll be up, right? So, anyways, let me do the 5-year run here, and this might be even a good graph too to just take a peek at. You have these peaks, right? And then we're flat. I mean, this is just another way of looking at what you're talking about, right, George? We have we have a peak here, crash, peak, crash, and we've been crashing this whole year. So I think we're in this like long cycle. We're in this 4-year cycle now, and where the peak being, November of last year. Yep, where it was, there was one day where it was like, what was it, like 69 or 70? Yeah. And so I think I agree with you. I think we're in a 4-year cycle, and I think so 2025, right? It's probably the next peak. And this is interesting too. Look at this. If we zoom out here in March 12th, 2021, it was 61,000. Huge drop, right? Mm-hmm. Halved. Go up here, 64, and then we're going to be flat. I mean, look at this one way over here in 2018. Check this out. 19 dip down to 12, came way back up to 17, and then flat. So we hit our 2, peaks here or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we're done with that. And then, I think we're on a 4-year thing here. So we're going to see another drop for sure, right? I mean, that's pretty common, but it's not going to go much lower. So anybody listening, that's your chance soon. Or, I mean, look, you could buy now and you might lose a little bit of money in a year, but guess what? It's going to come right back up. So, and that's because of what George talked about earlier. This is a deflationary currency. It is a coin, not a token. It's on its own blockchain. I mean, this thing think about this too, right? Imagine someday everybody starts using this globally. Oh my gosh. I mean, one Bitcoin's gonna be worth half a billion.
It's the equivalent of buying real estate in Madison Square Garden or downtown Manhattan in 1920s or 1890s. It's the most undervalued asset on Earth at this point in time. Earth.
Unless somebody fucks with it, right? And that's the thing, is it's decentralized, so you can't. So good luck, everybody. So all right, moving on. Let's move on a little bit here. Let's just real quick talk about the tech industry, maybe some real estate, just give a quick overview of stuff and move on. So we got more layoffs. So we're up to 120,000 tech layoffs so far. That's pretty insane, right? So 120,000 people are without work. I'm sure they got some nice severance packages. Don't feel too bad for these guys. But that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of people, right? I mean, 120,000 people so far. I'm getting the paywall here. But it's like, holy cow, man. Like, what are we gonna do with all these people? So just something to watch for, right? Especially this holiday season. All these tech workers, right? Who are all spoiled brats, most of them. How do I know? Because I'm in tech and I know a lot of them. Maybe I'm spoiled too. I don't know, but you're going to see a lot of people strapping their belts this holiday season, right? They're not going to go spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in December because they don't have the excess income anymore. They just don't. Or maybe they're in a, who knows? Maybe some of these guys are in a fuck it mode, and they're like, well, I got a great severance package, so. So, anyways, now why is that interesting? Because I want to talk a little bit about this thing for like a minute, the bullwhip effect. So a long time ago, 2 years ago, I mean, when I say a long time ago, we had this interesting problem where we had fake money, right? We had all the stimmy checks, we had all of the help come out, the PPP loans for small businesses, like things like that, right? So let me pull over like a graphic here for everybody. So we have this bullwhip effect. So a bullwhip, like a whip for a bull, right? Just think of a whoosh, right? That's a bullwhip. So what happens is the customer says, "Oh shit, I got some stimmy. Let me go. Oh, I got some PPE. Let me expand my business, right? Right? Because remember, all this stuff was originally for people to like just live, but most people weren't getting laid off, really. I mean, it was like food workers, really. Well, all of a sudden, all these people got extra money that shouldn't have, right? Like, think about the Domino's delivery guy. He was probably fine, right? Delivery, maybe McDonald's guy, who knows? Maybe they left, whatever. It was mostly these mom and pop shops. And then what happened, George? Right? Do you remember? It was like anybody who made less than 120K got this money too. Well, those people, they work from home, bro. They're not getting laid off. So what they go do? They went and bought TVs. They went and bought some of them were like me. Maybe they prepped a little bit, got some ammo, maybe bought a gun, whatever, man. But the point of it is that a lot of people got stimmy that didn't need it. And what happened was they had this big boom in spending. Amazon could not keep up with deliveries. Amazon was constantly behind. UPS was behind, and it created this bullwhip effect. So then what happened was distributors started saying, "Oh, we need to expand. Hey, Mr. Manufacturer. Hey, China, make us more. Give us more." Right? 2 years later, it all stopped. The consumer dropped the whip. It's gone. So now you have the manufacturers have too much crap. The distributors need to lay off people. The retailers laying off people. All we're doing is a correction right now. We're in a technical recession by the definition of a recession, right? Which is negative GDP for, what is it, 2 quarters or something?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? It's only because we're in a correction. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think people get scared, including myself, right? I'm in a tech company that had 10,000 layoffs, but at the end of the day, we're just correcting. We should have never hired those people in the beginning, in the first place. So, moving on a little bit, again, course correction with real estate, right? So if we go to the Colorado real estate website here, I'm going to show you guys. I have my real estate license in Colorado. If you need to sell a home, let me know. MaloneColorado.com. All right, so let's check this out here. This is insane. So if we go look at like the year-to-date new listings, we can see in November and October they're down 27% down. Look at this though. This is crazy, dude. Look at this all year long. Plus. Boom, negative. Oh my gosh, like that is just insane, right? It was like we were up, and we just crashed. We literally crashed here in Colorado. So this is interesting to look at, right? And so we have new listings here down 28%, pending and under contract. Oh my God, down 40, almost 40%. Look at this, sold listings down 37%. This is insane. This is literally insane. Now, here's what's really funny and contradictory, right? Look at the median sales price. Up 9%. People still think their house is increasing. Whoa. Now go look at Zillow. People are dropping their prices like flies. Average sales price up 5%. These people are out of their minds. Just look at this. Look at this pending. This tells you the data. People are not buying houses. Why? The Fed. Duh. Right? So we're having another correction, right? People were out there. Interest rates were 3%, right? Like everyone's buying more than they need. They're getting jobs they shouldn't have. I mean, we're just going through a correction here. So everyone thinks, oh, the world's falling. No, you just had more than you should have, right?
Go ahead. Can I ask you, is this stagflation?
Stagflation? A little bit, right? I mean, like if you're talking about in terms of like the housing prices though?
Housing is a good way to represent it. I would say the housing market is stagflated right now.
Yeah. So right. So stagflation, the way I understand it is we have typically high inflation and high employment, right? Right. And nothing's moving. No one's moving. It's like I always think of that as like a stalemate, right? In chess. And so, yeah, I think you could call it that, right? Like even like just that stalemate mindset, people aren't moving either, right? Like if we sorry, not the mindset. If we take that stalemate analogy to inflation and jobs and apply it to housing, people aren't moving, man. So it's like funny, right? Because I don't know if you know this, George. I mean, I know you're still renting, but when people sell a home, or sorry, when they go buy a home, they typically put a contingency in the contract that says, I'm not going to buy this home until I sell mine. Well, if no one's buying houses, dude, you just have this perpetual backlog of people with all these contingencies, and nothing's moving. Inventory is not moving. So
but we'll also look at the inventory statistic. It's up 32%. So there's inventory is increasing. Supply.
Which one are you looking at?
Inventory of active listings up 32%. Like, people are trying to sell their house right now, but no one is buying.
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly. Well, but hold on a second. So that, yeah, you're sort of right, but well, actually, you're not right. I'm just gonna tell you that's actually because, people aren't buying anymore. Right.
That's what I'm saying. You're seeing a correction on price, but you're also seeing a correction on inventory. Inventory is correcting. For a long time, there has been a lack of inventory on the market, and now you're seeing that metric correct.
Yeah, and that's because there's no new listings. It's the same inventory sitting on the market. So it says inventory of active listings. Mm-hmm. So yeah, people just aren't buying. Like that's where that number's coming from. The plus is so I don't know if you know this, George. So this number actually, so the way this number is calculated is the 6-month projection, 6 months worth of inventory. And there's some other math that goes into it, but basically they do a running like a running average, right? So like it's a sliding window, and they say in the last 6 months, how much was there? That means for the next 6 months, we will need this much. So if we sell, like, I don't know, I'm just making up. If we sell 1,000 houses in the last 6 months, we should have 1,000 houses on the market now to have 6 months worth of inventory. Well, what you'll see is this number will actually go down. In like next month, it'll be plus 28. Even though, watch, you'll see new listings. My prediction is you'll see the new listings number go to like 5% or 10. It'll be like negative 10 because what's happening is it's the same houses are sitting on the market.
They're just not moving.
And then that window starts moving and it starts saying, oh,
we don't need as many houses.
We only need 800 houses for the next 6 months. And then, and then it'll say, oh, it's 400, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so real estate's correcting, tech industry is correcting. Here's another one that's correcting. Here's another fun article. People aren't tipping as much at the POS. So what does this mean? POS, point of sale, right? So when you go to like the coffee shop and they flip the tablet over to you and say, hey, bro, you want to tip me $1? And you're like, no, and you flip it back to them. It's like, what did you do besides like work here, right? The sit down restaurants still the same, but a lot of people are finding, hey, I don't have as much money. I'm not just like throwing out my dollar bills. I don't have any stimmies, so sorry, bro. And so people are getting a little more stingy. So that's just something that's interesting, right? You can call that a correction if you want. And then last thing to talk about, George, debt to savings ratio, right? So we had something like, let me pull up some of these numbers. We had something like a total of $2.3 trillion in total savings, and now we're down to 1.6 in 6 months. So George, imagine that, right? Imagine, let's just take that down. Imagine you had $23,000 in March, and now you're down to 16 in not even a year, bro. I mean, that's a huge percentage, right? That's like 25%. So this is Americans as a whole. Like, where's our savings going, right? Like, what are we doing? So that's something interesting. Nobody, look at this, 23% of people surveyed, no emergency savings at all. 28% of all people, some savings, but not enough to cover 3 months. So check this out. So if we do the math there, right, that's 51%. Half of all Americans are fucked if they don't get paid tomorrow. 51%.
Yeah, and you can look up also what the amount of like credit card balance right now. It's astronomically up right now.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Yeah, if we pull that up, yeah. So
yeah, people don't have money right now.
And it's the job layouts, right? It's the HELOCs, it's the et cetera, right? I mean, it's just
it's also wages are not keeping up with cost of living. That's the main problem here. Yeah. Inflation is crushing people. I mean, I feel it. My expenses are up drastically from compared to what they were 1 to 2 years ago. And I mean, what are you going to do? Not eat food? Like, what are you're not going to drive to work? Are you not going to,
Yep.
I mean, we still have to live and do these things, but
Yes.
um, it's just so expensive to live right now. And all practical things are pointing to that. The tips that you just talked about, the debt to savings ratio, and yet the government still insists that the economy is stronger than it's ever been. It's just ludicrous, man. And in America, it's not even bad compared to other countries. Like, you look at Argentina, their inflation is like 60%. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And you look at Europe, which are well established first world countries, Spain, Germany, France, their cost of living is like astronomical. And I can't imagine what it's like to live there right now. Here in America, as hard as it is, we still have it pretty good comparatively,
Sure. Yeah.
and it's crushing us. So I don't even want to know what it's like to live in another country right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bread's $80 a loaf. Let's move on to our tips. I'll open this up, George, and I'll give you my 2 cents. You kind of gave yours earlier, but I personally think crypto.com so far is okay. That's what I use as an exchange. But here's my caveat to everybody, and here's why I use it. I find it to be very easy to move your crypto.com assets to a cold wallet. I find that process to be very easy. And so I buy and I immediately move to a wallet. So that's the big difference. Now, George, I would agree with you earlier that with any of these, really, don't trust any of them anymore, right? I mean, we've seen it too many times where exchanges F over its customers, right? So people, if you're going to be on these exchanges, get it off these online platforms.
Yeah, and explain to
ahead.
people what get it off means. I think if you're new to crypto, I don't think you
Yeah.
understand what it
Good.
means to get your cryptos off of the exchange.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep things pretty simple. I mean, I'm assuming most people listening on here, maybe you're either like me and George. I consider myself sort of semi-experienced. I don't know a ton, and then I would assume there's some amateurs on here. The experts probably aren't listening to our podcast. But what happens is you have the concept of a hot and cold wallet, and a hot wallet means it's online, and a cold wallet means it's offline. So it means it's like a thumb drive. Like think of like the little USB sticks, right? That you save data onto. And what you're moving around is the keys. Yeah, George has a Trezor.
That's a Trezor right there.
Yeah, those are made in Czechoslovakia, I think, something like that. But anyways, guys, so you're just moving your IDs, is what I call them. They're like hashed IDs, right? You're moving those tokens, you can even call them, to your cold wallet. I mean, in layman's terms, you're just taking cash out. Like if we wanted to use that analogy, like right when you go log into chase.com, Wells Fargo, whatever your bank is, and you take cash out, that's the analogy for moving the stuff from Coinbase, FTX, crypto, whatever, over to your cold wallet. So just look that up, guys. There's tons of stuff on the internet. So, okay, George, we already still talked about this. When's the bottom? I think we already talked about this though, but let's recap. I predicted 12K. What about you?
The bottom, I'll go 10.5. I think we'll get a flash candle to 10.5, and it'll probably be there for 30 seconds, and then it'll bounce back up to 12, 13K.
So are you going to short? Are you going to short it?
No, I don't trade, man.
Yeah,
I'm not a trader.
And real quick, I mean that's something people should just consider. I'm not going to. This is a whole podcast in and of itself. Cryptocurrency as a currency, not an investment vehicle, right? I mean, I think it could be both, but not just investment vehicle. I think you're using it wrong in the spirit. You're using it incorrectly in the spirit. If you're using it to get rich, fine, bro. Like do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, I'm all about free market. I'm all about freedom, and cryptocurrency gets us away from fiats and governments. So, last one, altcoins, yes or no?
Absolutely, man.
Which one?
I'm a big believer in Chainlink. Chainlink is pretty much like, if I were to compare it not from a utility standpoint, but Chainlink is kind of like Windows. Like almost every crypto company has, or crypto coin has Chainlink integrated into it. Chainlink is an Oracle service that takes real world data and implements it into a blockchain. So if you're a Starbucks and you want to keep track of your inventory better, you could use Chainlink to implement your inventory data onto a blockchain so it can be universally accessed by any location anywhere. And Chainlink is tried and true. It's one of the first altcoins ever. Also, the people that are developing Chainlink, like the founder, his name is Sergey. I can't remember his last name, but there's a huge following online, social media. Type in hashtag Link Marines, and this is what like Chainlink followers or Chainlink hodlers call themselves. We're kind of like Sergey's army, the Link Marines. I'm a big fan of Chainlink, and I think that's a low risk, high upside altcoin that is not going anywhere, and that's a safe place to put your money. Say, this is not financial investment advice. I'm not telling you where to put your money.
Yeah.
But if I was a pick in altcoin, one that I've had my eyes on for a very long time, I own it. I am looking to acquire more of it, is Chainlink. I think it's a safe, or one of the safer altcoins. So you get the potential upside benefit long term, and because they have so many clients in crypto already, I don't think they're going to go under. I don't see them going belly up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would consider it a blue chip altcoin. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, being backed by Oracle, right? They have proof of reserve, right? Which is and they're a token, right? They're for smart contracts. I mean, there's so much to it. They're sort of like Cardano, right? Cardano is a blockchain, right? And they offer smart contracts. So it sounds like it has a lot of versatility. So I agree with you that it could be very conservative, which is good. Cool, everyone. Yeah, and I just, since I threw them on there, I'm hedging long term. I'm talking like 10 years from now. By the way, I think ADA, which is the Cardano coin. Sorry, it's a token. It's not a coin. And maybe we'll talk about that in a different podcast. But you guys can go Google that. But I think that's another altcoin to consider, alt token, I guess. Last thing here, since people aren't buying new houses, they're taking out HELOCs, using credit cards. They're not moving. They are making improvements to their homes, right? Most likely. Well, it's not even most likely. You can go check out the Home Depot and Lowe's financial reports. So guys, if you're more into like stocks or funds, maybe invest in some funds that have Home Depot and Lowe's or something like that. So, and my boy here, Jorge, owns the Green Home Services. So if you guys need here in Colorado, so if you guys need some HVAC, hit him up. All right, guys. That is it for the LoCo Rico podcast. You can hit us up on the socials. We have our beautiful new Instagram and Twitter, where we give financial advice in meme form. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. George, have a good night, sir.
Buenas noches. I'll see you on the battlefield.
All right, everyone.
Peace. Salute to the Link Marines. Sergey.
All right, guys. LoCo Rico out.